Turn on to Dr. Mahen Kotalawala, who will speak on health and safety. Sir, I think the reported figure for dengue is at 19,825 total dengue cases. And we have diseases such as leptospirosis, we have self-poisoning in Sri Lanka. With all these, how come COVID-19 has become so important and how come it makes such an impact to us? Dr. Mahen Kotalawala?
Yeah, thank you very much. So as you very correctly said, so it seems that the burden of COVID-19 in Sri Lanka is less compared to other non-diseases that we have encountered in past, just like dengue, leptospirosis, or cardiac diseases, or deliberate self-poisoning. All seems to be having a higher toll than COVID. Then why do we consider COVID differently? If I were to answer your question simply, because COVID-19 is a different disease to all diseases that we know. Why? COVID-19, a disease which is discovered only 7 months back, and it is caused by a virus where we are not familiar with. We know all other viruses, mumps, measles, rubella, and we know the treatment, and we know how contagious are these viruses. But unfortunately, COVID-19, the disease, and the SARS-CoV-2, the virus which causing COVID-19, the information available for us is less, and we don't know much about it. Still, the knowledge that we are having is not complete. So the knowledge changes day by day. And therefore, it is a new disease and a new virus, and therefore it needs to be treated differently. And the other aspect of this is COVID-19 is a disease which spread across the world in pandemic proportions. That means it has a huge burden, huge case load, mortality and morbidity. And if it allowed to expand in the same rate that we see now, it will engulf all mankind within very short time. So therefore, we have to consider, we have to think, and we have to assume that COVID-19 is different to other diseases that we know. Another important aspect of COVID-19 is there's no definitive treatment, no vaccination, or no means of prophylaxis. So that itself, those three parameters itself, is a huge burden to us. Though the number of cases are low at the moment, there's a potential that at any time, any given time, it can spread in enormous way throughout the world, as in USA. So if I were to go on mid-March, the number of cases reported in USA is around 1,000. Number of cases reported in Russia is around 20, 30. At the same time, we were having the same number of cases in Sri Lanka. But see what has happened within 1.5 months time duration. In USA, now there are nearly several million cases, and also deaths is around 200,000, 300,000. So that is what COVID can do to a country. And in addition to that, it has huge impact on all our day-to-day aspects. So therefore, it's not like dengue, it's not like leptospirosis, it's not like deliberate self-poisoning, and it has to be treated differently because it is different. And we, as we have suggested, as the topic suggested from today's discussion, so we have to live with it in a different way that we have lived with dengue or leptospirosis. So therefore, we have to consider this as a different entity which has a potential to spread all over the world, endangering all races, all societies, and all countries. So that is why we need to consider this as a different entity, mainly because of its pandemic potential.
Okay, doctor, unbelievable how a microorganism which cannot be seen by a naked eye, how the impact that it makes to Sri Lanka and the rest of the world. Mahen Kotalawala again, now that Sri Lanka has slowly and steadily opened up for the economy and people are coming back to work, and the near normalcy is slowly returning, but it's a new normal as people speak. So I would like to ask, from the health and safety measures, what are the measures the employer should take, the employees should take, and the customers should take? So for still, while the virus is there, we all remain safe. Dr. Kothalawala? I think you might have to unmute yourself, Dr. Kothalawala.
Can you hear me now? Right, sorry.
Yes, yes, very much.
So thank you very much for raising that question. Now it is like something like this. Now this is a new situation, new experience for all of us. So here, after 1.5 months or 2 months of lockdown situation, now gradually the country is opening up, and as a result of this, there is a change in all of our life. So as therefore, when we are opening up and when we are coming to work, there has to be certain health and safety regulations that we have to observe. So basically these health and safety regulations should focus hand hygiene, distancing, not to touch face, cleaning, frequent cleaning and disinfection of frequently touched surface, and stay home if you are ill. And that concept has to be observed whether in work or at home or any other place. So therefore, in the workplace, the employer, employee, and customer, all three parties should try to have those 5 or 6 steps enforced in the workplace. So the main idea of having this behavior change in all three parties is to prevent COVID-19 from spreading. So when you get, after some time of locking down, when you get sudden release of that restrictions, in all countries, we have noticed rebound increase in cases of COVID-19. It was evident in Korea, it was evident in Singapore, and many other countries. So therefore, we also will face a similar situation. So therefore, there has to be some modifications in our routine life in order to prevent this from happening. For that, there has to be some inputs from employer, employee, and customer. So let's see what the employer's role in having this sort of behavioral changes or having a structural changes within the workplace in order to prevent employers, employees, and customers getting the illness. So not the customers were directly allowed to area, and they have to keep in a waiting area and come one by one. And then the employees, there are certain observations of certain observances that the employees also has to follow. For example, coming to work with a skeletal staff, where the work can be performed without hindrance, without the risk of getting the illness or transmitting it among the staff members. And also there has to be some certain structural modifications, like erecting physical barriers such as glass barriers between the employee and the customer. And also there has to be a way of cleaning the hands, and there has to be way of cleaning the frequent touch surfaces, and that sort of thing has to be there in the workplace. And again, for the employee, the person has to maintain certain disciplines within the within the office space, like not having frequent congregations or gatherings, not having parties, or not having to meet each other, greet each other. There has to be certain differences in the way that they greet each other in the morning, and like that. And again, the customer has to given clear instructions by the employer and the employee, and what sort of changes they need to observe within the workplace. So in that way, the employer, employee, and the customer, all three parties should take part in this process, in this new experience, and in order to prevent this disease from spreading. So that has to be the main focus in the new era. That is, while we are facing the threat of COVID-19, the possibility of getting a second wave. So we have to keep that in mind and try to find answers within the institution, within the workplace, in order to prevent the issue that I have mentioned earlier. For that, the employee, the employer, and the customer, all three parties has to oblige in the instructions or the advice given by the healthcare. So we can start with appointing of a health and safety officer in the workplace. So this is a very good practice where the health and safety officer can liaise with health officials about the changes that they are going to have in the workplace. And again, the employees and the customers, they can coordinate with the health and safety officer on the instructions that given by the healthcare workers and the healthcare staff on prevention of COVID-19 spread within their institution. So there has to be a closely knit network among those three parties, and also there has to be communication with the external, the outside of the workplace, like in healthcare workers or the police and the army, in case of some sort of emergency or some sort of emergence of COVID-19 within the workplace. And there also has to be a way of communication between the healthcare staff, the office staff, and the customers. So as the DIG mentioned, there has to be a way of, now the police department, they have a WhatsApp group and that sort of chat groups. So again, within the office staff also, there has to be that sort of arrangement, so that there will be a possibility of conveying the messages and decisions taken by the management to pass it to the all employees, and from there to customers. So actually speaking, there has to be a total difference the way that we worked earlier and with the COVID outbreak. So there has to be these changes were brought about by all these parties, so that the workplace will be safe to work without the risk of getting COVID-19 and without the risk of transmitting COVID-19 within the premises.
Okay. Absolutely, Doctor. Thanks for that answer. I think wherever I think Sri Lanka, whether be it the public sector or be it the private sector, I think it's quite impressive that we are taking a lot of precautionary measures so that we remain safe. So let me go back to Dr. Mahen Kotalawala. When we opened up after the lockdown, even on my first day, there was a lot of fear element. So even if you speak to the parents of or the children who are waiting to go to school, one day the schools are going to reopen, there is a lot of fear element. So what do you think, how can people overcome this fear and get back to normalcy, Doctor?
Right, thank you very much. Now, fear is a normal physiological response, especially when you encounter a strange thing, or when you travel to an undisclosed area, or when you face with some problem, you get the fear. So fear in medicine, we call it a protective mechanism. Now for COVID-19 also, fear is protective. fear is the feeling which drives the parents and the students to know about the disease and get over the fear. But the issue here is unsubstantiated and unreasonable sort of fear. So unsubstantiated and unreasonable fear may lead to some issues, especially when the country is being opened up and the government is planning to open up the schools so that invariably parents and students, kids, both will have certain degree of fear for COVID. So as a medical practitioner, I would say this much of fear, unsubstantiated and unreasonable fear, is not good for us, because when we have that much of fear, we tend to take irrational decisions, irrational thinking, and irrational actions. As a result, it may have some sort of damaging effect on both the parents as well as the kids and the school. So I will take an example now. Recently, I had chance to take part in some of the parents and schools meetings where they are planning to have enforced in the school premises. For example, spraying disinfectants through disinfectant chambers when the child passes through it and when the child wants to pass to go through that gate. So there I had opportunity to tell the principal, staff, and the parents about these disinfection chambers and how damaging it to the student and also the environment. Fortunately, so they all agreed and they just withdrew the suggestion to have a disinfection chambers in school premises to disinfect students. So likewise, as a result of this fear, unreasonable fear, unsubstantiated fear, there may be some irrational thinking and irrational acts in the part of parents or students. So therefore, this fear has to be overcome. So how do we overcome this fear? Basically, by knowing about the disease. Now, if I were to tell about the disease will have a mortality of less than 1%, and it is transmitted mainly through droplets and contact. And there has to be a person who is ill to get the disease and to pass the disease to a healthy person. So if we look at these parameters, factors, we can easily have some methodologies to overcome the fear. So basically, what as a medical practitioner, I would say all stakeholders should come together and discuss about the disease openly. So, and discuss about the fears that they are having in the disease. So a healthcare worker can help in that regard. So in this way, the parents will get to know the true scenario, true picture of the disease and what are the risks that they are having and how to avoid the risk. So the students also will have the same thing, and at the same time, the teachers also will get to know the true burden of the disease and also the risk and what are the risks and how to manage the risk. So the fear, though it is physiological, but what we can see from the responses and from the views of the parents that it had gone beyond the tolerable level to unsubstantiated fear level, so that they are taking steps which may not be good for the kids and the environment. So therefore, what I suggest is to to get down a medical practitioner from schools and have a discussion on the ways of overcoming fears, and at the same time to find a way to prevent transmission of COVID-19 in the school setting. Schools, when there is a place where there is thousands and thousands of kids come and gather, so therefore, if one person is there with COVID-19, so there's a possibility of having an outbreak within the school premises. So therefore, the students and the parents and the kids all should be aware of the fact and should act accordingly. So basically, they should focus on hand hygiene, maintaining the distancing, cleaning the frequently touching areas like desktop, the doorknobs, the computer tables, or the telephones, or that sort of thing, and avoid touching face, and to stay home if the kids are ill. So that sort of arrangement has to be there. A discussion has to be made between all three parties to overcome the fear. And medical personnel can help to give the true picture and the true information about the disease so that they can overcome the fear. And I also want to stress this fact. So with fear, sometimes you can have certain things like spraying alcohol or spraying hypochlorite or asking students to walk through disinfection solutions and that sort of thing. It has to be stopped. So those are the things that are done by the parents and the staff because of fear of disease. So therefore, they should know what ways are available to prevent the disease from transmitting from one person to other. So this has to be highlighted as a method of overcoming fear among school kids and parents and also teachers.
Fine, fine. Thank you, doctor. I hope that advice will take away the fear element to people who want to get back to normalcy, especially the school, the parents. Thank you so much for that.